My name is Patrick McEnroe. I'm here representing Wilson today. I'm a longtime player of the Wilson racket, by the way. We're here to celebrate the RF Wilson collection, which was just launched on August 8th of this year. So without further ado, I say we get started. Let's welcome our play testers out on the court. Representing the next generation, we have joining us today, age 16 from Germany, Christopher Thies, and age 15 from Switzerland, Noelia Manta. What do you think, Roger? How's it feel?
I don't know if it's me or not, but feels so nice to be on a big court in general, you know, where the conditions are really perfect.
You got the black Wilson frames and the black court, the black shirt, everything's in tune.
Go a little matchy, you know, with the racket and everything.
Hi Roger, nice to see you. How much difference there's between this racket and the one you are using when you are pro?
Results would have told me, but I must say it feels, very different. This is not just an evolution in my mind, it's more of a revolution. I was so excited to go down to a lighter frame and just try something completely different towards the end of my career and give it a go. So I think I overcame that fear quickly. Now holding it in my hand, again, obviously it's another step closer to an easier player-friendly racket, you know, when you don't feel so well and you wake up and you just go play some tennis. This to me seems much easier than, you know, when I go back in the last 20 years, I've played with much more difficult rackets to play with. So this for me feels actually really, really nice. It travels through the air quickly. That's what I wanted. So I could maintain a really nice racket head speed, because I feel like over time, when you're a professional tennis player, you start playing the percentages, you start playing maybe a little slower, you're scared to, you know, hit through the ball and really unload on it. And I wanted to make sure I kept that up, you know, so I was really focusing on racket speed, nice top spin shots, you know, especially also in defense, you know, if I had to hit a passing shot or something. So I like the frame a lot, and I think it came out really nice. I mean, the design is another thing, but the way it plays, I'm very happy with.
Our first meeting on this project specifically was April of 2022. So the entire process was 2.5 years. Once we kind of had the final racket was in December of 2023. So it was about an 18-month product development time. And I think the first, let's say, hurdle was a racket that he was intending to use during his career. And then as he retired, figuring out how we want to bring this to market. We also created models at lighter weights for a wider variety of players to use. And then there were so many good ideas from a design standpoint. So we really got to the last minute we had to make the choice of what the design would come to. And it required a last minute trip to Zurich to figure out exactly what we wanted to, which direction we wanted to go. But ultimately, I think working with Roger and also with Mirka quite a bit, we're able to create a design that really encaptures Roger's style.
We know the most important thing with the racket is how it plays, right? But we also know that part of what makes your collection so special is the design, right? The look. I mean, that's always been important to you too.
Yeah, so design was a little bit more, harder to decide on, just because I wanted to make sure the racket looked the part as well. You know, I feel like the tennis swing is something so beautiful, and if you can highlight it with a lighter color at the top of the frame, so let's say white or a silver racket, and in this case also going to the anthracite, going from the black into the fade, that actually should leave like a glare through the swing. And then of course we have, you know, the pinstripes, the two pinstripes, like a reference to my twin daughters, twin boys. The RF logo, of course, was the big change with the racket as well, and there was talks to maybe have the RF logo on the strings, but for me I just thought this is a true collaboration, and I wanted the Wilson to be on top, and I said if you want I can do the butt cap, because I think that's a classic as well, you know, M or W, now it's like RF up or down. So anyway, I'm very happy how it turned out to be, and I hope of course people like it too. So
we spent a lot of time on design. I think we made over probably 150 design samples, and throughout the process, maybe earlier in the process we thought we would do something crazier, and then as time went on, it became clear that hey, this is a big launch. It's the first of a racket, the RF racket with Wilson. And so he said, okay, as opposed to going crazy right off the bat, let's do something that's very much feels like something Roger would create and has the aesthetic that Roger exudes on and off the court.
What was the biggest technological innovation behind RF01, and how does it impact on court performance?
We went out to the court with him, and we had 15 or so different rackets, prototypes, rackets from the past, just to understand what exactly he was looking for. And there were a few key things that he was intent on. So really the first was, how can I improve my strengths? So his forehand was his strength throughout his career. And he said, when I moved from the 90 to the 97, I felt that my backhand got better, but maybe I didn't have as much control or as much strength on my forehand. And so he said, I would, rather than helping a weakness, I want to improve my strength. And so that really came down to improving the racket head speed on the forehand. So we went through the testing, and we did a lot of kind of engineering and design, and the core intent was to improve the ability for racket head speed on the forehand, so he could play a very versatile game, create angles, and he kept talking about, I want to be able to just flick a passing shot. And so that was kind of what the design team and we keyed in on. And so ultimately, the biggest innovation is the way that we put the frame together, and it's a technology that we're calling Saber frame design, and that really was fully designed to give the racket head speed the feel that he was talking about, and then slightly more forgiveness than what he's had in the past.
I guess this particular frame for me was more still based on my tennis, to be honest, because that was the idea, to come back with this one, you know, I guess a couple of years back. So this one was heavily focused on a lighter frame for my playing style. Did we do a couple of changes maybe along the way once I realized I was not going to play anymore? Maybe, but it was only marginally, if at all. And I would think that the racket I would create in the future, which I'm sure there will be, then that will be a whole different mindset going into the frame. That would be then for the people, I'd say, you know, with obviously my DNA in it. So, but I feel like this is very much still the racket that I would have hoped to, I don't know, win Wimbledon for instance with. Yeah,
it became very clear during the process that this is a racket for a very versatile player. So. Because it's developed with Roger, and Roger has the ability to hit every shot and uses every shot throughout his game, we needed a racket that could be used to almost like a paintbrush for an artist is kind of the analogy that we made. And so we spent a lot of time looking at the way the frame's designed and trying to make sure that it could approach the ball from different angles. So whether you're hitting a big topspin shot or hitting it flat or hitting it with a slice, also at the net, we wanted a racket that would be fast through the air in any different condition. And so that was a big part of the innovation, as I mentioned, is the way the frame was designed. So on top of that, and it was one of Roger's asks, was he wanted to see the next generation also have the ability to play very versatile tennis. He spoke about it a little bit, but tennis today has become a lot more about standing at the baseline and trying to hit it past your opponent. And the versatility and mixing up the spaces, the paces and the spin has left the game a little bit. And so he wanted a tool or a racket that could be used for the next generation to develop their game with aspects of versatility that he also had.
I mean, the story goes when I was having my knee issues that I thought, well, how can we use the time to great benefit? And I asked Wilson what was the latest technology and that we should maybe try a new racket and see where it takes us. And actually playtesting, we did that very quickly when my knee was okay in Zurich and some other places.
Obviously, it's super special to work with someone who you grew up watching and seeing succeed on the court. So at the beginning, that obviously played a bigger role, but pretty soon after we set off to start this project, we became very clear on the goal we wanted to achieve. So it became less about working with an icon and more about how can we create the best racket, not only for Roger, but then subsequently for players all over the world. So it's a great process. I think one of the most exciting things was just seeing his excitement throughout the process, even the small details. You could hear him talking on the court about all the details, why we did the design a certain way, why we made the frame shape a certain way. And there really weren't a lot of details that he wasn't involved with. And so having someone that interested in the development process made it a joy for everyone at Wilson.
I really wanted to try to play with a racket that was much lighter than what I was playing with before, because before I was playing with more of a heavier racket, and I realized a lot of the players nowadays on tour actually are playing with much lighter frames, and I wanted to see how that feels and then incorporate the new technology and maybe move away from the pro staff, which was hard for me to do, obviously having played.
This one's a Pro Focus, right? The one you're hitting with right now?
Yes, this is
That's the RF01 Pro Focus,
yeah, exactly, yeah. And it's...
How long does it take you to figure out, like, if it's exactly what you're looking for, or what sort of things are you looking for when you're hitting with it initially?
How long it takes me to feel comfortable, or honestly, it's a matter of habit a little bit, and what you want to feel is that what I was trying to get is nice topspin on the racket, you know, that if somebody came in, I would have a nice short cross-court passing shot, that I had enough power on the attacking shot, obviously that it would help me on the slice, the volleys, all that still would work. And then also just the size of the frame, which I knew had to be around the 97, 98, where we are today, where we landed. So I thought that we found a lot of nice things really quickly. And then they obviously have different versions, you know, of frames and swing weights and stuff like this, but I feel like I landed quickly on this one, which I was very happy about. And I would have loved to play with this one on tour, but unfortunately it all ended.
How picky was Roger about his material during his career? Is he so talented that he could have played well with everything?
I think throughout his career he was always very interested in looking at our relationship, Wilson and Roger, as a partnership. So how can we help him, and then clearly how he can help us. One thing that became very clear during the development process is how in tune he is to the feel of a racket. It's actually quite remarkable what he's able to pick up, whether it's one gram difference, a small balance difference between one frame to the next. He always is able to say, hey, this racket has more than this. So much so that the development team would almost test him to see if he could tell the difference between two rackets, and not once was he wrong. So his feel of the racket allowed for him to really help us in the development process. So I wouldn't say he was incredibly picky, but he also knew exactly what he was looking for, and we made sure that what he was looking for became clear, and we would develop to that.
If you look at his career, the changes he made, he wasn't demanding, but he was aware So he recognized when he needed to make a shift, and he would then approach us. And it was a very interesting, it didn't just help him, but it helped us in our overall product development to learn. He's best playtester in the world. So he was very aware when he wanted to make a change. He knew what his weaknesses were, and he knew what his strengths were. Each of those changes had a specific reason for his game.
I remember when you were coming back from your knee injury a few years before that, when you came back and won Australia and then Wimbledon, you were testing some different rackets at that time too, right? Weren't you tinkering, or did you stay with the same racket?
No, that was the same racket.
That was the same racket.
Yeah, 2017
So
was
it's
the same.
2022 where you said, I need to really start play testing some different frames.
Yeah, and the big change came, I believe, in 2014. You know, in 2013 I had quite a bit of problems with my back, actually, and very similar. I took the time to test rackets at that time, and then I came back in Australia in 14. It was like a demo frame, a black one.
So we saw that it's the number one of the collaboration. Will it be others in the future? And did you sign any contract in a longer term with him for the RF collection?
We've had a lifetime relationship with Roger, so naming the number was part of the original name. And I think as we transition from what Roger's needs were as a player to what Roger's expectations are for the future of the game, there'll be creative things we're working on. It's not just a racket collection, of course. So we have, Michael was instrumental in the racket development, but the bag also has unique characteristics. And to your question, Benjamin, on the ball, I mean, he has a genuine interest in the future of the game, and that's what's exciting about the longevity of our relationship. And looking forward, what fingerprints he could still leave on the game. So, lots of good things ahead.
Nice to see you all. Thank you, guys.
Advantage you.